Hello and a very warm welcome to the Late Breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking. A non-race Sunday, but that doesn't mean we're going anywhere because we've got grading to do, Sam.
Grading? God, I remember back in my day when I was at school, I used to dread my grading. I didn't really. I was a straight A student. I had a lovely time.
We were at school with you. No, you weren't.
I wasn't at school. I wasn't at college.
Tell us about that time you didn't come in because you were playing Candy Crush.
It was Flappy Bird.
It
was
Flappy Bird. I take it. I'm sure there was a Candy Crush one where it was like Sam is off sick and then it came up on Facebook. Sam's just got a new high score on Candy Crush.
That was two separate.
Me and college didn't vibe, okay? But anyway, we're going to give the class our gradings, right, Ben?
We are indeed. And it is important to note as well that we're recording in the pursuit of all three of us being on as many episodes as we possibly can. We are recording this on Wednesday. So I can't imagine what news has happened in the last
We've not learned, have we? We've not
4
learned.
days.
Who's left? Max Verstappen's left Red Bull, probably. That's probably happened.
To be the team principal at Alpine.
He's actually with the right front tyre changer at Alpine. Max Verstappen.
No, Sanchez is doing right front.
Oh, is he?
Left rear, though. Could do with left rear.
Oh,
Trent's
right,
off
fine.
again playing football.
God, selfish Trent.
Do it for the Euros, and he get
Goodness
Max
me.
in there to the end of summer.
So as already referenced, yes, we do have grading coming up on today's episode. So we're grading all of the teams. It's not the only thing we rate. We also rate drivers after every Grand Prix. You know where you can find that?
I've not heard of anything, mate. Where do we do that? Where is that?
I think it might be on Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Patreon.
I wouldn't bother with it, though. It's probably about £100 per month.
Honestly, I reckon... How many times am I going to do this?
How long is this plug?
How long is this joke going for? No, I reckon if, power ranking sounds like a top quality piece of content, and that's is that something that's done every week, guys?
After every single race, I've heard that we do that.
Goodness me, I reckon that must cost the average user around £500 a month.
The average.
This man's in debt.
Everyone that subscribes to us currently is make us millionaires. And no, we're joking. It's £9 a month.
What? You are crazy.
And you get not just power rankings, beer with breaking, historic race reviews, extra episodes, everything's ad-free. So much content for so little money.
You guys should put up your prices because I'd pay £500 per month for that.
Well, we're not going to because we care about you, the consumer.
I hate us.
I'm not sure how long man who doesn't understand value of money character could carry on for.
It's still got legs, damn it.
It's the worst plug at the start of the episode. If you're new, you're gone.
Yeah, sorry.
Welcome. Yes, we're grading all of the teams today. So thought this was a natural place to do this because we've had exactly one quarter of the 24 race season so far. So we're going to look at all 10 teams. We're going to go in the order that they are in the championship right now. So naturally, we'll start with Red Bull. So anything from an A+ all the way down to the dreaded U ungraded. Sam, what are you rating Red Bull?
I'd give a Red Bull a nice, comfy A grade. I'm not going A+ because there's been some mistakes, there's been some slip-ups, and we're talking all-encompassing here, drivers and team together. Sergio Perez hasn't been flawless. It's like a couple of, places where he's finished fifth position, not ideal. Max Verstappen hasn't won every Grand Prix, and they haven't taken home the absolute 4 points that they dominated, obviously, last season, and they haven't done that this year so far. So whilst the car is still clearly very, very, very good, and Max Verstappen is clearly extremely good at the F1, there is still room for improvement.
What are you going for, Harry?
I've gone for an A* or A+, whatever you call it.
Lovely.
I know they've not won every race this year, but good Lord, that team and car and driver setup, Max Verstappen, that is. They are operating at the highest levels of peak performance, and I know they've not. Again, I know they didn't win Australia, and that was down to reliability. I know they didn't win Miami, but for the most part, they are. It's everything at the same time, which I know it's boring for the most part in terms of we don't get an exciting championship and we miss out on that sort of battle. But to just admire, I think China really summarizes for me, just to admire a team, a group of people being really freaking good at everything. Verstappen being so quick during China, like he was just miles ahead of anyone else. Them doing 4 pit stops in less than 8 seconds, ridiculous. So yeah, I 8-star for me. I don't know how they can be any better.
Yeah, they can win the other 2 races.
Yeah,
Get good scrubs.
Get good bunch of scrubs.
You know, the most telling thing of like Red Bull dominance becoming so normalized is actually the stat about Max Verstappen and how his pole position records start the year. It's the most pole positions to start a year for like, was it 40, just over 40 years back to Alain Prost? And it's like, yeah, sure. It's not even a big deal. It's just like, of course he's done that. And it can be easy to forget that, yes, that has gone decades and decades without being matched. That's how good this accomplishment is. I've gone with an A-. I think in terms of on-track performance, 4 out of 6 race wins, very impressive. I think Sergio Perez is on the plus side as well, in that he has been, I think, slightly better than expected. I think he's picked up his form a little bit versus where he was at the end of last season. Or even though the last couple of Grand Prix have been a little bit more dodgy. So that does count against them. I have marked them down a little bit, though, based on Adrian Newey, because I think that if we're looking at off-track as well as on-track, that is going to probably hurt them years down the line. It's not going to hurt them now. It's probably not going to hurt them the rest of this season, but that will hurt them in a couple of years' time at the very least. So not being able to keep your house in order behind the scenes has cost them in my grading a little bit. A Ferrari, Sam?
Hey, Ferrari. I don't know what B is in Italian, I'm afraid. So
B.
B.
The letter B.
Me accents are like 2 peas in a pod, honestly. You can't fight. Exactly. There you go. Grazie, everyone. Yeah, I've given them a B. I think they won the one race that realistically they should have won. They took full advantage of Max Verstappen's struggles and they picked up the W. Well done, Carlos Sainz, as well. I think both drivers seem to have not performed at their best at any one time. They seem to be on ups and downs. Carlos Sainz had a bit of a run of doing very, very well. Charles Leclerc is having a bounce back. He's now, I think, doing better than Carlos Sainz. The car hasn't had any major developments yet. They're expected to see them take that step up that we just saw from McLaren that they did at Miami. But overall, it's solid, right? It's very, very solid. They haven't stepped backwards like Mercedes have. They're still regularly beating McLaren throughout the season. And quite often, more than not, they're beating Perez as well. So I think it's very, very strong. But I think some improvements can be made, which, in theory, we're going to see. Freddie Vass, Carlos Sainz will be very vocal about the upgrades. We could see them take that big step forward. So Ferrari is there.
Have they had the best lineup so far this year?
Yes, I think they have.
What do you think, Harry, to that question, and also what the grade is?
Yeah, I think definitely a case for best lineup. I've also gone for a B. I consider B+, but there's some, there's a little bit of classic Ferrari creeping in there. The fake pit stop in Miami being one of them.
Comedy brilliance.
I was duped.
But having said that, I think I know we're only a quarter of the way into the season, but generally less chaotic. Do you think?
Yeah,
I think so.
It was a low bar.
Together.
It was a low bar to begin with, but I feel like they've got better this year. So hopefully that is the Freddie Vass effect coming in. But yeah, I've gone for a B. I think they've been very, very solid this year. Obviously picked up the win when Verstappen retired in Australia, but got to be in it to win it, and they were on it that weekend, to be honest. So that was good. And yeah, just been there or thereabouts. Pace wise has been pretty good. I think the least convincing performance is probably China. Do we think they were a bit sort of nowhere there? Just a bit slow, weren't they? So, yeah, I think it's solid season for them so far.
There's a good chance I'm forgetting something, so please correct me. But no clangers so far this year?
No real clangers.
I can't think of any. Like slow pit stops, strategic errors. They've been pretty all right in both of those departments, which is definitely a plus. I'm going to match you both. I'm going to say a B for Ferrari as well. I think both drivers are in pretty good form. I do think that they have had the all-round best lineup so far this year. Obviously, the fact that they were able to overcome what happened to Carlos Sainz and the appendicitis, bringing in Ollie Behrman and Behrman picking up good points. I think obviously Behrman deserves a lot of respect for that as an individual, but I think the team deserves a lot of respect as well, because there would have been a lot of work behind the scenes to ensure he was up to speed as quickly as he possibly could be. And I think they worked well on that. And overall, like pace-wise, I think they are roughly where they ended last year, which could be a plus or a minus, really, in that they maybe haven't moved forward quite as much as they would want to, but equally, they haven't dropped back in the same way like Mercedes have. Don't you worry, Mercedes. We'll come to you shortly. No. The negatives, I guess you've already referenced the upgrade that's coming at Imola, and we don't know whether that's going to work yet or not, but at least the last couple of Grand Prix, McLaren have jumped them. Lando Norris obviously taking the win in Miami, but equally Norris was comfortably better than Leclerc and Sainz in China. So losing out to McLaren is a bit of a negative. So I've gone with a B. Speaking of McLaren, Sam.
I've gone with a B. I've kept it pretty equal because as much as they have started to beat Ferrari in the last couple of Grand Prix, the first four, I do think like Ferrari were the overall better side, and I think the points in the table display that. Equally, in the team's layout, I do think that Lando Norris has been pretty great so far this season, and I think Piastri has had a couple of moments where he's let himself down or he's not shone as much as I expected him to. Australia is one that springs to mind. It's not been disastrous, but I expect it. Before he got hit by Sainz in Miami, Piastri was sensational. The fact that he drove so well with half the upgrades that Norris had on his car and he was still so competitive, that's what I want from Piastri, and he delivered then. But there's been a couple of performances that haven't been off. Equally, they've got the race win, and the upgrades have worked. And Norris, of course, picked up pole in China in the sprint race, which is a fantastic lap in those conditions. So, yeah, there are some ups and downs, but I think unlike Ferrari, which have been steady and consistent, can't believe I said that about Ferrari, I think McLaren are being a little bit more worse and then equally a bit better in certain elements, which kind of again levels out at a B.
Harry?
Yeah, also a B. I think very similar reasons and similar-ish season to Ferrari, you'd say. Just kind of been pretty solid for the most part, and obviously I have also picked up a win, obviously in Miami with Norris. Couple of mistakes along the way, and yeah, like say Sam, Piastri, a couple of slower races, but yeah, for the most part, very solid. I'm compared to this time last year, miles above where they were at the start of 2023. So yeah, a B.
Yeah, I've gone B minus. I think the last couple of races have been very good. I'm just dropping them down a little bit because like you say, Sam, really, the first four races belong to Ferrari. The last two have belonged to McLaren. I think if it was 3-3, I'd probably put them both at a B. But Lando Norris's win, obviously the standout highlight, but China podium, very impressive as well. And as you've just said, Harry, they haven't had a slow start, which is just great news. Even if it's not quite as good as what is yet to come, the fact that they're not 17th and DNFing, that's good. And yeah, they have momentum, right? They are going nicely across the last couple of Grand Prix. From a negative point of view, if we are comparing it to Qatar, Japan, that sort of run last year, they are still further behind, I think, Red Bull, at least the first few races of this year, than they would have liked. And also, yeah, Piastri has been a little bit hit or miss. To give a little bit of insight into our power rankings that we do exclusively on Patreon, we kind of have him middle of the road. So Sam has him 13th in the 20 driver list. I have him 12th and Harry has him 9th. So we're all kind of around the midfield for Piastri, which feels about right. So there's probably still more to come from him. Mercedes, Sam?
E.
Excellent.
The reason they're not getting an F is because of Lewis Hamilton's podium in the sprint race in China, where he excelled. Other than that, it's been a real sorry story for Mercedes. No idea what's going on in the car. Your upgrades, when you have brought them, don't seem to make any difference or seem to work. You seem to claim understanding and progression, and then in the next Grand Prix, you're in exactly the same space. You've lost your key driver in Lewis Hamilton. George Russell is not exactly pulling in the success stories like we did a couple of seasons ago. Multiple times now you've had one, if not both drivers eliminated before getting into Q3. You've not scored any higher than a 6th place in a main Grand Prix. It is not a good time to be a Mercedes fan. So, yeah.
6 races, no top 5s.
It's awful, isn't it? So again, the only reason you're not an F is that one sprint pole. I think I'm being generous with that, if I'm totally honest with you. So that's what. Yeah. So it's an E. It's not good. This is the time for an apology letter, if I'm totally honest. Not Australia back then.
Harry, are you also going E?
I haven't been that harsh. I've gone for a D minus.
Oh, it's close.
It's close, but I don't know. I've given the benefit of the doubt a little bit.
Nice with a D minus. That's really telling.
But it's not been a good year for Mercedes so far. Like you say, it's worse than it was in the start of 2023.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, it's not like that car just is nowhere, and even operationally, they just seem a bit not Mercedes. There was
helmets on the pit crew.
Yeah, no helmets on the pit. Like, how long you been doing this for, guys?
Come on.
This was a team that, and it's a clip that gets reused a lot, especially when we came up to before the Chinese Grand Prix, of them doing their double stack at the 2019 Chinese GP. They were untouchable back then, and obviously now it's Red Bull doing that sort of thing, and these things ebb and flow in F1. But 2019 wasn't that long ago, and now you're walking out into the pit lane with no helmets on. Come on. So even pace wise is terrible. And they're a bit shonky elsewhere as well, so D minus.
Prediction, Harry, bold prediction, next Grand Prix, Mercedes will wear helmets when they do their pit stop.
Easy point.
No point. I've also gone D minus as well. If you're looking at positives, there aren't that many. You have to really pick out like individual results that have been good. So the sprint podium is definitely up there. Hamilton in Miami was pretty good. Russell in Bahrain was pretty good. But you are having to pick out very individual results to really get any positives from this season. And the negative is very obvious. The car's not very quick. Could be better and probably should be better. But also, and this might be quite savage, but on the drivers, Russell's been okay. Hamilton's been poor.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
I don't think they've been great. So D minus. And to round out the top 5, Aston Martin, Sam.
I've lost my list. I've given Aston Martin a D. I think with where they were progressing towards up and down last season, and they had some real highs and then some big lows. You got to remember, I think, where was it, Kota, where Alonso decided to go back to the old spec, and they had both cars basically starting from the back of the grid. And yet, a couple of races before that, they were picking up podiums. Alonso had that run where he had 3 or 4 podiums very close in a row. I kind of expected Aston Martin to kick on a little bit, to be a bit closer to the likes of Mercedes and maybe McLaren and Ferrari, much like they were last season. I still think they're comfortably the 5th best car. Maybe Miami proved.
Would they be that far clear of Minardi without Alonso?
Well, exactly. Now you say that. As I said that, I kind of thought, well, Miami maybe proved that if the car shows a weakness, they seem to really struggle. So, it's a D from me. I expected a bit more. It's not a total disaster. They did end up being the 5th best car overall last season. In the championship, they are currently the 5th best car. So, but I did expect them to be closer to the front than they are actually closer to the back. So it's not good, but it's not a disaster.
Same for me. D. There's not a lot of positives. Alonso has been brilliant, particularly in qualifying, but that's really where the positives start and indeed end. They are a long way clear of where they were this time last year. There were some comparisons, at least in terms of qualifying, where Aston Martin were this time last year versus now. And I can't remember the exact delta, but they weren't anywhere close to where they were last year, which is worrying. Lance Stroll is a continual negative for the team. Sorry to say it. And it just feels like they're going the wrong way. And they weren't very far clear of a lot of midfield teams at Miami. Harry, what grade you go?
Also D. Yeah, it's not been the most positive start of the year to Aston Martin. And like you say, I think the points they have picked up has mainly been down to Fernando Alonso more than anything else to do with the car. So, not much more to add on that one. It's not been ideal, particularly around Miami where they really struggled. yeah, it's not quite where they want to be, considering how they started last year, and it's kind of not carried on the form, but sort of carried on the form from the end of 2023.
Okay, that'll do it for the top half of the championship. On the other side of this break, we're looking at the bottom 5 teams. Okay, welcome back. Minardi, RB, Minabi, Toro Rosso, whatever the hell you want to call them. Sam, what grade are you going for them?
If you're watching on YouTube, my camera has 2% left. So if you see me disappear,
Bye, Sam.
Audibly, I'm here. You can hear me. Podcast people are like, yep, nothing's changed.
God, that was unexpected.
Go with the Titanic music. Bye-bye.
Okay, don't let go, Jack. Anyway, Minardi, I've given them a C. They weren't exactly brilliant last season. They struggled towards the back of the grid for quite a period, and they had some good moments. And then when Liam Lawson was in the car, they seemed to do really, really well, and then it kind of faded off again. Now, they're not bad. They're kind of scoring more points than the rest of the back markers, which is positive, but with their claims of greatness on the horizon, a few top 5s I keep loving to hark back to, it's not come to fruition. So I think they're in an all right spot. I think things have gone okay. I think if both drivers can start performing at their best rather than one weekend and one another, and they can start maybe getting a couple of double points finishes on the regular, they'll be up to a B grade. They'll be hustling Aston Martin. Maybe they'll beat Aston Martin if it goes their way, but yeah, it's not quite there, but it's not bad. So for me, it's a middle of the road C grade.
Harry?
Yeah, I've also gone for a C grade. Not a mixed start, but I guess mixed for their drivers. But it's been going for better for one half of the garage than the other over at Minardi. But it's been positive for the most part, and kind of picking up, not entirely, but kind of picking up where they left off at the end of 2023. In terms of the pace they have on their car, it's a little bit inconsistent, but for the most part, it's been good. So yeah, I see.
I see both of your C's, and I will go C. Yeah, it's been fine. It hasn't been much better than fine, but it hasn't been worse than fine. I think versus last season, they're pretty much there with where they ended the year. Tsunoda has been good. I think Tsunoda's had a pretty solid year to this point, so he's a plus. And Daniel Ricciardo, despite having a bad start, has over the last couple of Grand Prix got more comfortable. Obviously, the sprint result was a great one for him in Miami. In terms of negatives, top 5s. I can't see any, apart from Daniel Ricciardo in Miami, which I guess is a fair point. But other than that,
sprint race,
yes, not a lot of top 5s. I still think, at least from a Red Bull perspective, no disrespect to Yuki Tsunoda, they're still not an obvious successor. For if they wanted to go in a different direction, they might say that Sergio Perez is doing a good enough job that they want to keep him, and that's fine. It would have been good to see more of a challenge from one of the drivers. It kind of isn't there, but I've given them a C. Haas. Sam, what have you graded them? I don't think we'd have thought they were 7th at this point.
No, and my rating displays that because I have given them an A-, and I never thought in a month of Sundays.
Sorry, Sam's given an A-.
I can't.
Haas.
You know what?
Me.
You spell imposter without an A because they're not imposters anymore. They're turning up. They're actually making an effort, and I'm proud of them. Komatsu is cooking. And what's he cooking up? Komatsu. He's cooking up like 11 places. But you know what else he isn't cooking? The tyres. They're out back. They're fine. They're chilling out. Because they've understood the assignment. They've worked out what doesn't work for us, what do we need to change, and how do we improve. And they've got the job done. Hulkenberg has been exceptional. I think he's maybe had one properly poor performance. Magnussen is a menace. So on the entertainment scale, had a great time. In the results scale, he's been naff, and that's why it's not any higher than this. Magnussen has dragged them down from like a real top grade, but generally the team's moving in the right direction. There's only about 12 of them there because Gene Haas doesn't have any mates and he won't hire anyone new, but with what they're doing on a shoestring budget, coming out from being one of the worst teams we've seen in Formula One for a long time, I'm really happy to see them turning it around. So Haas, A-, generally brilliant steps forward. Well done.
Harry?
I've gone for a B. I'm not quite as good as Sam, but I agree. It's just been a much better year for Haas. Thing is, a much better year for Haas. It's still not brilliant in terms of F1 teams, but for Haas, it's been, considering where they've been in the past few years, it's encouraging. And like you say, Sam, we openly mocked them when in testing. They were like, "We're just here to understand tyres," and we were like, "Oh God, that's how bad it is." But fair play, they have. They did 3 days of testing, and they were, at the end of it, they must have gone, "Oh, we understand what they are now." The four round things that go on the car. Got that. So yeah, excellent work from Haas. It's a B.
I've gone in the middle of you both. I've gone with a B+. Nico Hulk. If you take out turn 1 of Bahrain, Nico Hulkenberg has been pretty much perfect to start the year. He's been great, particularly getting Q3 appearances like it's nothing and doing a good job in the race as well. As you've already said, tyre wear is far better than it was last year. I still think they have 1 or 2 issues with it, but it's not race destroying like it was last year. They can still fight. And another plus, and obviously Kevin Magnussen has flirted with the line of what's acceptable, but their teamwork and their tactics have been great so far this year. Kevin Magnussen has helped Nico Hulkenberg score points. In terms of negatives, I guess Hulkenberg being so good is also a negative because they've lost him, which is, I appreciate Audi's coming in, but at least on the face of it, they have lost a driver to the team that is currently 10th in the championship, which isn't ideal. The other negative, I guess, Kevin Magnussen started the year quite well, but has dropped off a little bit the last couple of Grand Prix. And also, it's just a shame, I guess, for Haas that none of their good work has resulted in anything better than a 9th. It would have been nice to see them rewarded for their good performances with some more DNFs and getting a P5 or something like that. But overall, great start to the season for Haas. Let's go to the 8th best team. Oh, God, Alpine. Sam?
It's miraculous that they are the 8th best team after some of the results they've had. I've given them an E. And the reason why they haven't been given an F is simply because of Ocon scoring a point in Miami, and it looks like the first set of upgrades has actually started to do a job. Ocon has been the shining light for that team this season. You know, they've got banging a dog, changing tyres and running the finance department at the moment, and it is a real struggle for them. Gasly has just been like non-existent up until Miami, and I actually think that he probably drove better than Ocon for the first time and deserved some points. He was shafted a bit by strategy. But yeah, it's still not good. Their setbacks from last year are abysmal, and where they were from a couple of years ago when they were fighting with McLaren for points regularly is an awful, rolling down the hill of misery. So, yeah, it's not ideal. They are struggling, but they've scored a point, which is more than what the other 2 teams below them have done, which I'm quite surprised that they were the first of those 3 to score points. But it's something. So it's an E.
Harry?
I've given them an F.
Ooh.
I agree with you, Sam. And it remains to be seen whether it does continue the performance they had in Miami, but it did look better, more encouraging there. But Alpine should not be anywhere near where they've been the first part of this year, first quarter of this year. It's been, and I agree on your points on Ocon as well. He's been excellent all season, and not whinged about it as well, which he could have easily done, given where his position is, but. It's not acceptable for Alpine to be this bad. I know we mock them and they're the butt of the joke, but it comes down to it. Alpine, with the resource they have, should not be where they have been for the first quarter. I'm confident that grade will go up as the season goes on, but for me, it's an F. It's no good.
I swear down before Miami, this was going to be a straight up U. They did not deserve to be graded before Miami because, like you say, Harry, they should not be in this position. But well done. Your performance at Miami has granted you, the same as Harry Eid, an F. They are at least going the right way. The upgrades seem to be working. Ocon has been brilliant so far this season. And Gasly's been fine, I think, as well. And like you say, Miami was probably his best race of the year so far. But, and I can't stress this enough, you have 1 point. You are Alpine. You have 1 point. 2023 was their worst season so far in F1. They had 120 points.
Ooh.
Again, they have won this year. And Ocon, after the Miami race, was important. He thought it was important to stress that we shouldn't celebrate too much about this 10th place. You're goddamn right you shouldn't celebrate about a 10th place, Alpine. You should be far better than that. So I've given them an F. Harry's sure that grade will improve as the year goes on. I'm less sure, but I hope.
I hope so, Ben. Your career depends on it.
Not really. No one else will do the job.
That's so true. You are unfireable.
Damn right. Williams, Sam.
I have given Williams a D-, which might come across as harsh, but honestly, this has been a real step back. And I think we all subscribe to the Holy Church of Papa Vowles at the start of this year. And we all became followers of the faith last year. And I've been led astray. Papa Vowles has led me down a bad path, and I don't like it. Where's this progression? I'm not expecting leaps and bounds. This isn't doing the long jump here. We're talking steps forward here. We're getting ourselves up to the plate. And he's not delivered. Sargent, you kept him on, fine, took a risk. He's not delivered. Okay, potential might be there. I can't see it right now, but he's not delivering it. Albon, you're calling it World Championship level drives. I'm calling it mistakes here and there in a car that's pretty naff. So I'm not blowing away. They've gone backwards. They're not progressing. I expect them to be where Haas are now. I expect them to be battling with RB for these fringe points on a regular basis. They're just nowhere near it. It's a real shame so far. So it's a D- from me.
Harry?
I'm for a D, but yeah, I could see a D-. It's been a disappointing year for Williams, and again, I for Williams, the goal isn't this year. It's not next year. It's 2026. So I understand if they're going to have peaks and troughs, but given where they were their back end given where they were last year, you'd have kind of hoped for at least the same. But they've slipped back, which isn't ideal. And like I say, they've got bigger fish they're trying to fry here. But still, you want to see at least not necessarily even progress, but at least stay in the same position, which they haven't really. So a D.
E. Not impressed. It's been bad. I for all of these teams, by the way, I have put out like pluses and minuses for each. This was the one I really struggled to put anything as a plus. There really hasn't been anything to talk about for Williams so far this year. I mean, Albon's been okay at a few Grand Prix. Yes, he's had a couple of 11th place finishes, but if that's your biggest plus from a season through 6 races, it hasn't been great. They have no points. That's not a great start. Logan Sargent isn't making progress, which they would have hoped that he'd had at this point. They might have, based on, and we'll get to Sauber in a moment. Sauber had some all right pace at China. Williams might have the worst car on the grid at the moment. And let's not forget, the only thing more embarrassing than delivering a poor performance on track is not being able to go racing, which is what happened to them in Australia. They could not go racing with 2 cars based on not having 2 chassis working. That was embarrassing. As you say, Harry, and rightfully so, this is a long-term project, so we're not expecting everything to become better race by race. There will be peaks and troughs, so I'm willing to give James Vowles time, obviously, but no, this hasn't been a good start to the season on track at all. Which just leaves us with Sauber. Kick, Sauber, Alfa Romeo, soon to be Audi, all the other names. Sam, what are you giving them?
This is the one I struggled the most with. I've given them a C-. Now, you've got to remember where they were last year. I'd argue that they were pretty shocking last year, right? Bottas and Zhou, basically from the 4th or 5th race of the season, were absolutely nowhere. They had a torrid time. And then this season, they have had some form. Bottas especially, on multiple occasions, I think, should and probably, well, could and probably should rather, have scored points. I think them being on 0 is actually a bit of a surprise. The reason they're on 0, the bloody team can't perform a pit stop. They've only just learned how to do it, and that has massively knocked them down. They were good in China. Both Zhou and Bottas, really, really good. Showed great pace. I do think there's something in the car there that is looking in the right direction that's able to be a jumping off point, but it's still not solid. So it's not been an absolute shocker on track. It has been a shocker in the pit lane. It has been a problem with kind of understanding where the pace is and coming together as a total team. But there have been a few key performances, especially from Bottas's point of view, that I think have elevated them and shown that there are glimmers of them not being last overall. And I think you're right, Ben. I think maybe Williams end up being 10th again if they get it together.
Harry?
I've gone for an E for them. Mainly because they can't do a pit stop, to be honest.
It would help.
Would help there. Might get them a D grade of that if they could do a pit stop. But yeah, an E, it's not been... the random... And this happened a bit last year as well. Some random bursts of pace in that car, and then it just disappears like almost immediately. I don't really understand why that happens. But yeah, it's just very, very inconsistent. So yeah, an E.
I said at the beginning of this season that there's something I like about this Sauber, and I'm sticking with it. There is something about this Sauber that is all right, but like you said, it's so inconsistent. China, they were great, and then they turn up at Miami, and they are very much not great. I've given them an E+. The China pace was very good. Bottas has been very good to this point, but you do need to perform pit stops to an okay standard. Otherwise, you're not going to score many points. Simple as that. The other negative, Zhou Guanyu, I feel like I was surprised at how quickly he became accustomed to F1 in his first season. I think he got up to speed quite quickly and quite well, but he kind of just hasn't really kicked on from like halfway through the first season. He's still at that same standard, which I've been disappointed by. Again, I appreciate the car's not in a great spot, but I would have liked to have seen him progress more, really, not just this season, but last season as well. But yeah, I've gone E+.
It's not good when my expectations of them must be so low that I'm 2 grades above you both.
True. Although you can count, they're setting for the future. They've got Hulkenberg now.
That's true. There you go. There's a reason for it.
And a new race engineer for Bottas that you would like.
I don't even know him.
Who's this guy?
He's talking to me in my ear, who are you?
Or not talking to him, as was the problem in Miami. Right, let's take our second break on this episode. On the other side, we're chatting Zak Brown and his comments about Adrian Newey. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Zak Brown at the Miami Grand Prix was asked about Newey's departure from Red Bull. He had the following to say. 6 months ago, I would have been surprised, but given everything that's gone on since the start of the year and knowing Adrian pretty well, he's a very high integrity individual, I'm not surprised he's moving on. I think the stuff that's going on there is a bit destabilizing. That's probably the first domino to fall. My guess is not the last based on the resumes that are flying around. He was then asked to clarify if McLaren had received more resumes since Red Bull's turmoil kicked off. And Brown responded, yes, we've seen an increase in CVs coming our way from the team. And I think Adrian is the most successful designer of all time. So in addition to the technical quality that he brings to the racing team, people want to work for people like Adrian and work alongside him. Sam, what do you make of his comments?
It's very, very hard to disagree with Zak Brown in this comment. It would be pure coincidence, wouldn't it, if Adrian Newey just decided after 4 races of a season at that point when all the news started to come out, I don't want to do it at this team anymore for absolutely no reason. It's very, very coincidental that it perfectly lines up with a lot of scandal that's gone on behind the closed doors of Red Bull. And it might be quite worrying for Christian Horner, who I know has come out and defended this, that I don't think Zak Brown would lie about there being loads of CVs flooding. He's not stated who, what, or where, but I think he's right in essentially addressing the fact that people don't want to work for a culture that goes against maybe some of their basic morals. I know that what happened with Christian Horner hasn't come to anything. It's not a rise in any kind of criminal punishment or even him being told he's guilty. But that kind of accusation alone is really not pleasant. It's really damning. And when we're in a world where we're trying to make things more equal and more modern and more expressive for a sport like Formula One, why would you want to stick it out at a place where maybe looks past that and thinks that that's okay? So, yeah, if Adrian Newey's the first to go, that's worrying because if Adrian Newey goes, Zach Brown's entirely right. People want to work for him. People want to work with him. And he's not the only rumoured high-profile member of Red Bull to looking to be leaving. I said to our group chat earlier that Wheatley is apparently rumoured to be looking to move away as well. Like, if they lose both of those guys, that is worrying signs for Red Bull. You've really lost the plot if you lose those two guys in the space of a couple of months. Max Verstappen is basically the third of the trifecta of those three to move away, and you're in a bad place. So I completely agree with Zach Brown. I think he's right in what he said, and I think Red Bull need to shore up the ship. They need to plug the holes, otherwise they might end up falling a lot further than they anticipated.
What do you think, Harry?
I think that Zach Brown just loves to wind up Christian Horner.
Mr. Marketing.
He loves a little dig. It's excellent. Yeah, look, hard to say. Look, this has undoubtedly been the catalyst for Adrian Newey leaving, because he's a man who, because I know him well, obviously, but he seems like a man who just likes a quiet life, likes to design his F1 cars in a nice, peaceful team. And what's going on at Red Bull at the moment isn't peaceful at all. And he's decided, I'm not suggesting he might not have been thinking about leaving anyway, in terms of this could be he might just be retiring. It's entirely plausible. I don't think he is, but it's entirely plausible that he is just going to retire. But yeah, this has certainly helped him out the door. Whether there are others to follow, I don't know. There are a lot of, and obviously it cannot be overemphasized the influence Adrian Newey has had on that team and indeed F1. But there are lots of other people in that team, designers, engineers, etc., who contribute a lot to the success of Red Bull. So, and I don't see why necessarily, unless they really have problems with what's going on behind the scenes, why they would necessarily leave. So, don't know. It's an interesting one. I do feel like this is a bit of Zach Brown just having a poke at Christian Horner because he doesn't like him. But he could be right. But I don't know whether there's going to be some sort of mass exodus. I kind of find that hard to believe.
Question, Harry. Do you think that, from what you said, do you think that maybe not Adrian Newey's importance has been inflated? Because I think that would be the wrong way of saying it. But do you think actually that Red Bull might be more okay than what people are saying if he were to leave?
I think they'll certainly be okay in the short term. And also, like, Adrian Newey's helped build that team up. He's not going to... Again, I don't want to take away from anything from Adrian Newey, but he's built up a team around him and Christian Horner, and the rest of them. He's built up a team of engineers and designers that work on this car or these cars. So I don't think it's just about to... I think people expecting Red Bull to just fall apart immediately. In the long term, yes, I think there'll undoubtedly be an effect, but I don't think you'll see that for years yet. So I think people hoping that next year Max Verstappen isn't going to be competitive may be a bit disappointed.
Do you think that maybe Zach Brown is a bit more... I know you're saying about him liking to wind up Christian Horner, and I don't disagree with that at all. Do you think he's maybe a bit more blasé with his comments based on McLaren haven't really been touted as a potential destination for Adrian Newey? Williams have, Ferrari have, Aston Martin have. Do you think that gives Zach Brown a little bit more flexibility with these comments?
You guys, Sam?
Oh, I was going to say, Zach Brown has got a structure put in place, and he's already nicked Rob Bird off of Red Bull. And I think Zach Brown is the most confident man in all of the world. So I don't think Zach Brown believes that what he says in the media is going to affect the negotiating power of someone like Adrian Newey. I think he believes that Adrian Newey wants to come to McLaren. He'll come to McLaren regardless of what they realistically put on the table. They'll make it work. So for me, Zach says what Zach says. He wants to say what he wants to say. I don't think he needs to be delicate about the situation to stop there being a relationship between the team and Adrian Newey.
What do you think, Harry?
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. He maybe can afford to be a bit punchy because he's not any skin in the game in this one. I just think he just likes. He's becoming a bit, and I don't mean this in any disrespect to Zach Brown, but he's becoming a bit like Christian Horner in his persona towards like the media and like saying things to the media, in terms of likes to get a little quip in there every now and then and stir the pot a bit, which Christian Horner's been so good at. It's like the Netflix era of team principals. You wouldn't catch Jean Todt doing this back in the day, would you?
They've become their own version of celebrities.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. I think he's starting to play into that because he's seen what Christian Horner's done, and I don't know.
Gunter was another one, right?
Gunter was a very good example. Yeah, exactly.
Do you think when Cyril left Renault, he went to Zach Brown and said, "Look, I'll leave on one condition: you take up the mantle, you be the annoying person in Christian Horner's ear." And Zach Brown was like, "Yeah, all right, I'll take it on." I think
I'll do it for you, Cyril.
I'll do it.
I don't really have too much to add versus what you've already said. I do think this is a case of him winding up Christian Horner because he likes to do that. And it's impossible to know how important this will be to any potential mass exodus. I know he's talking about CVs. I don't think he's lying. I'm not prepared to call Zach Brown a liar about this, but equally, I think, Harry, you're right. I don't think you put it absolutely right. Anyone who is expecting a quick downturn in fortunes for Red Bull probably going to be disappointed, because at this point, as important as Adrian Newey is for Red Bull and any team that he goes to, he has been for quite a while a consultant of sorts, right? He's been a senior consultant. He hasn't been the leader of the team. So this isn't going to be, I don't think this will be an instance where he goes and his team rally around him and go as well. He wasn't really playing that role. So I think Red Bull will probably be mostly all right. Definitely in the short term. Moving on to something that's quite interesting that's come out in the last week, which is that F1 is launching a free commercial streaming channel in the USA. So there's no live broadcasts on this. It's a 24-hour sort of channel, but they will show race replays, documentaries, highlights, and junior categories as well. So presumably F2, F3, and F1 Academy. Sam, how impactful do you think this move will be?
It could be bloody brilliant, I think, if they do it well and do it properly and put a lot of care and energy into it. I think good looks like the program has structure. It has something you can follow. For example, if they were to put on a full series, so if they were to replay all of 2022 for newcomers and they were to put it on every Wednesday, almost like a TV program, you know, that you follow week by week, at 9 o'clock, you go, oh, the next race of the 2022 series is on, I'll record it and I'll go watch it. Where it will fail is if they just chuck content at it and hope that it sticks. They go, right, here's a random F2 race from halfway through the season. Here's the first F2 race from this season. Because people who are coming into the sport new with fresh eyes might go, I don't want to spend any money yet. I'm not sure if I'm committed to this. I want to get behind it. I want to learn a bit. You know, might not have Netflix, watch Drive to Survive or something like this. Might sit down at that channel and go, all right, it's free. I'm here to watch a few races. I'm here to pick something up. I'm here to learn something new. And if it's just random content that is just being thrown at them, they're never going to fall in love with a driver. They're never going to support a team. They're never going to understand the storyline. So I am hoping with the development of this channel, which I do think on the face of it is a really brilliant idea for attracting more new viewers. And hey, maybe some of those viewers might be old time that might go, oh, I remember that race. Actually, that's reinvigorated my love for F1. It might happen, but I do think they just need to make sure that there is proper structure to the channel. And it's not like what I think Sky Sports do on off race weekends, where they just put on the same interview 4 times in a week, or the same highlights from a random thing just pop up. You think, I don't care. I pay for this channel and I don't want to watch it. So I just hope they've really thought out the structure and the plan and the delivery of content. And then that way, it really could be effective.
Hey, I'm looking forward to finishing recording so I can get back to Lewis Hamilton's home cinema again.
Oh my God. Seeing it like
me.
80 times.
Goodness me. Honestly, when they first started Sky, the promise they had was, and it started off well, but now it's absolute garbage on there. Sorry,
Should we step in and do something?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I blow my own trumpet here. Why don't they have someone like the three of us doing a weekly show on Sky Sports F1?
Many reasons.
Yeah, that's fair. Many legal reasons.
Sky Sports F1, put us on after Watershed.
Yeah, that's the only place we could go. Harry, do you think this move will have any impact?
Yeah, I'd like Sam says. I think for the casual viewer that's not necessarily interested, but not fully invested, but might be a bit interested. This is again going to help capture their attention. And like I say, it's not a channel that people will sit there and watch all day, every day, because they probably will see the same things over and over again. It's just for people flicking through and they go, oh, what's this? And something on old races on, or an old interview or something like that, and then it piques their interest. So it's what it's there for more than anything else. So I think it's a sensible move. I don't see any real drawbacks to this. The thing is, that, as we just mentioned with Sky over here, is actually populating a channel that's on all the time, because it's actually quite difficult to do. So I'm confident F1 can do that, but it's a tricky one to pull off.
Yeah, I don't think this is a groundbreaking move, but it's solid enough. You've got like F1 TV exists for properly devoted fans who want to go out their way to pay for a service, whereas this is more about becoming more of a household name and almost like infiltrating people's lives in the nicest way possible, like properly becoming a household name. So I think in that respect it will work. And you're right, it's for the casual fan just flicking between channels and seeing this for the first time, or seeing this and they've seen it a couple of years ago and they're vaguely interested, and then that vague interest sort of kicks on from there. So I think overall it is a good move. I do think, and I might be wrong on this, I think F1 does have a little bit of an issue at the moment in that it's somewhat trying to present itself as, with this move, it's trying to present itself as anyone can pick it up. We want to increase our audience as much as we possibly can. Similar to how NASCAR's viewed, I guess, in the US, where it is the everyman sport, or and I think they're going to try. They're almost trying to do that with this move, but at the same time, you've got the likes of Miami and Las Vegas being so exclusive and being high end. And I feel like they somewhat work against each other. But overall, yeah, I like this move. I think it's a good one. Should we go to our final break? On the other side, F1 order, please. Oh, I should probably get the music ready, shouldn't I?
Get it ready, boy.
Get it ready, boy.
Okay, everyone, welcome back. It's time for F1 order, please.
Whether it's a can of Coca-Cola or a lump of cheese, or we're ordering drivers by the size of their knees, this game is full of facts, just you wait and see. This is Formula One. Order, please.
What a great intro, as always. F1 order, please. So Harry and Sam will take it in turns. There are 6 questions in front of me and 4 answers. All they have to do is order them in a certain way based on what I say. If they get it right, they get a point. But if they get it wrong, it goes over to the other player with the opportunity to steal. If they then want to steal and get it right, they get a point. However, if they try and steal, but they get the order wrong as well, they will lose a point. So, Sam, kick us off. What number would you like?
I'll have number 1, please, Ben.
Number 1. 4 drivers. I want you to list them in terms of their win percentage in F1.
Right.
So you've got Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah.
Damon Hill.
Right.
Sterling Moss.
Okay.
And David Coulthard.
Oh, bloody hell. We had to throw Coulthard in there. Highest win percentage, I'm going to say, is Hakkinen. Then I'm going to say Moss. Then I'm going to say Hill. Then I'm going to say Coulthard.
That's not the correct order.
No.
He is not interested in the slightest.
He doesn't want the heat.
That's fair. The best win percentage, Sterling Moss, 24.24. Then it's Damon Hill, 19.13. Then Mika Hakkinen, 12.42. And then David Coulthard, as you said, is fourth, 5.28.
Cool. I'm really glad that I took a punt on that one.
And Harry most certainly is glad that he did not. What number would you like?
4, please.
Number 4. I'd like you to list these 4 countries based on how many points they've scored in F1 history. So you've got France, Finland, Germany, and Italy.
You know, old France, the driver. How many points has he scored?
So most points scored by Finland. Then I don't know. Finland, Germany, France, Italy.
That's not the correct order.
Shocker.
Sam, would you like to try and steal?
I'm all about them minuses, baby. So yeah, I'm gonna steal it. I'm gonna say, what were the Finland, Germany, France, Italy? Was that Harry's order?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna say Germany first. Then I'm gonna say Finland second, and then I will say France third, Italy fourth.
Yep, just needed to change the first two around. Germany, 7,959.5 points. Finland in second, 4,397.5. France, 3,393.47. It's impressive.
Sure.
And then Italy is last, just over 2,000 points. Right, so it's 1-0 to Sam, and it's back to Sam. What number would you like?
2, please, Ben.
Number 2, 4 circuits. I want you to list them based on the length of the track.
Okay.
So you've got Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Istanbul.
Right.
Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yep.
And Silverstone.
Ooh, okay. So Vegas, Istanbul, Silverstone, and Gilles Villeneuve. Okay. Vegas, the longest, then Silverstone, then Istanbul, then Villeneuve.
Man's on fire. Absolutely spot on. Las Vegas is the longest at 6.2 kilometers. Then it's Silverstone, 5.9. Istanbul, 5.3. Gilles Villeneuve, 4.3. Harry, back to you.
What's left?
3, 5, and 6.
3, please.
Pick number 3, my lord.
3.
4 drivers. I want you to list them based on how many times they won their home race.
Okay.
You've got Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna,
Brazil,
Max Verstappen, and Johnny Herbert.
Argentina.
Johnny Herbert leads. I'll go first. First, Alain Prost. Then Max Verstappen, Ayrton Senna, Johnny Herbert.
Man, you guys are on fire!
Oh, yes!
Oh! The cow bangers.
Love that. Prost, 6 home wins. Verstappen, 3. Senna, 2. Herbert, 1. Back to you, Sam. Do you want number 5 or 6?
I'll have number 5, please, Ben.
I'm going to give you 4 pairings of drivers. I want you to list them based on how many times they shared the front row of the grid.
Oh, okay.
So you've got Vettel and Webber.
Hold on, I actually have to write this down because
there's a lot of names.
8 names. Okay, so hold on. Vettel and Webber. Yep.
You've got Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello.
Shoe and Buzzer.
I don't think anyone's called. Sorry, a really, really random point here. This has got nothing to do with the game. Have you heard of Théo Pourchaire's new nickname in IndyCar?
No.
Oh, it's good. So he's been racing for McLaren as a substitute for David Malukas, who's now left the team. But obviously, Théo Pourchaire is not going to be a name in the US. So they've been calling him Terry Porkchop.
Yes! That is LB coded. Terry Pork Chops.
Someone did send this in to us
so
as well.
Good.
So thank you for doing that. But I
God.
did hear it as well on a broadcast last week.
Here he comes, Terry Porkchops.
That is honestly incredible. Well done, America. That's
Terry
the
to the
best
inside.
He's cooked the pork chop.
Sorry, massive distraction. Hamilton Verstappen was the 3rd pairing.
Yeah.
And Hamilton Rosberg is the 4th pairing.
Oh, okay. And this is just the front row.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go Hamros. I'm then going to go Hamstap. I'm then going to go Schubara. And I'm going to go Vettel Weber.
That's not the correct order.
No.
Harry. No?
No.
Fair enough. You started correctly. Hamilton Rosberg shared the front row 44 times. Then it was Vettel and Webber who shared the front row 23 times. Then it was Schumacher and Barrichello 16 times. And then Hamilton and Verstappen shared the front row 14 times.
Oh, is that it? Only 14. Surprising.
Yeah. Which means we'll go over to Harry Eid for number 6.
Number 6, please.
Which, if you get right, could be a 2-all draw. I want you to list these drivers based on the furthest back they've been on the grid to get a win.
Sweet.
So you've got Kimi Räikkönen, Max Verstappen, Rubens Barrichello, and Ayrton Senna.
I'll go for... Sorry, Barrichello, Räikkönen, Verstappen and Senna. I'll go for Barrichello first, the most far back.
Yeah.
Then Verstappen, Räikkönen, Senna.
That's not correct. Would you like to try and steal, Sam? It would be a terrible play if you did, but
I'm going to go with the no steal on this one.
Yeah, that's pretty clever because you now win. The correct order wasn't that far off. So Barrichello was first. He came from 18th on the grid to win his first ever race at the 2000 German Grand Prix. But then Räikkönen and Verstappen were the other way around. So Räikkönen was 17th when he started the 2005 Japanese Grand Prix. Verstappen was 14th when he started the Belgian Grand Prix in 2022. Ayrton Senna never won a race from below 5th. But to be fair, he was very rarely below 5th.
Fair.
Yeah, all right.
2-1 win, Sam. Well done.
Oh, I've done all right the last couple of games, you know.
Oh, hang on. John wants to play us out.
Cheers, John.
As my camera's died, maybe I'm just going to put my picture as John Burko.
Oh, that's a good shout. That's not going to make sense for people until about 20 minutes after it happened. But yeah, go with that.
Maybe I'll just change it to the Burko when the game starts.
Maybe that's fair. Would you mind getting us out of here properly, Sam?
Folks, thanks for listening. We're going to be back midweek for the preview of the Imola Grand Prix, where we'll be doing our bold predictions. You'll be getting involved with who's under pressure. We'll be giving our predictions for who's going to win the race, who's going to be on pole. We'll be discussing more F1. Loads happening. Thanks for your support. Join the Patreon if you'd like way more content. If you don't want any more content, you just like the normal stuff, totally fine. Thank you for coming along. Join the Discord to be involved in the community. That's how you submit your points to be on the episode as well for before and after the race. Follow us on social media, Late Breaking F1, and watch us on YouTube, Late Breaking F1. We appreciate your support. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
I've been Ben Hocking.
And I've been Harry Eads.
And remember, keep breaking late.